Hey guys, it's Morbid Locks. I need to finish doing my hair, and I thought I'd show you guys how I go about it. I'm working on synthetic locks. Well, this is my real hair. Locked it. It's thin thanks to the bead that I have up here, and I just need to brush out a little bit more so that I can go ahead and attach an extension. I'm adding synthetic hair, dark ombre. So let's go ahead and do that. I already have sort of like pre-made a lock, not finished. I'm gonna go ahead and finish it off once I attach the hair. I just personally find it easier that way. And I'm gonna blunt the ends, and I'll also show you how I went from wispy ends to blunted ends. So I'm just gonna brush my hair out for a little bit because I'm missing a little bit more. Meanwhile, I wanted to share with you guys something that I was reading on one Facebook group, or a few, I guess, because of course I'm in so many dreadlock Facebook groups, right? So I came across, and if this happens to, if you fall under this category, definitely share a comment as to what, why, how, where, everything. Just to share knowledge. There's so many different types of dreadheads. There's people who go all natural, don't palm roll, against palm rolling, against crocheting. There's people who use just synthetics. And there's some people who, you know, are in between, don't really care. So I see a lot of posts of dreadheads cutting their locks off and then holding on to them and having them reinstalled, which is what I recommend. If you have hair that you grew out, you locked, and you want to cut it for whatever reason, and then you want to save them to put them back in, do it. I mean, if you can, why not? They are expensive to purchase if they're not your own. So I came across a loctician who will install extensions, but they won't install locks that you've had before. And their reasoning behind this is, well, first off, she asked the client, why did you remove your locks? And sometimes it'll be, I was going through depression, or I wasn't feeling well, I needed a change, or my job, or sometimes it's just negative, right? And the loctician stands by, well, why would you want to reattach that energy back onto your locks, right? Now, me personally, I don't see a problem with it. I think, yeah, sure, go ahead, reattach your locks. However, if you're an empath like me, you might pick up residual energy, and like any energy from others that's just not positive, not conducive to your well-being, your growth. It's a waste, so get rid of it, right? However, me as a spiritual person, into the natural healings and healing with nature, healing with earth, the crystal healings, Reiki, chakras, and stuff like that, when I had read or had come across that post, to me, the first thing that popped into my head was, well, I mean, selenite exists to, well, it doesn't exist, that's not its main purpose, right? But like the crystal selenite, if placing your crystals on top of that said crystal, it will cleanse all the crystals that are on top of your little selenite tray. And it's usually a tray or a cute little bar. Anyways, and what the selenite does, similar to placing crystals underneath the moon or cleansing it with moon water or anything like that, it cleanses the energy of the crystal so that you're able to continue using it, and it absorbs any bad energy or harmful energy that may be directed to you or that you may be harboring yourself, right? So I do fall under the category of people who believe that the energy is being locked into your hair because I want to keep that. I feel that makes me a better, stronger version of myself. And using that, I guess on that same argument, any negative energy or negative things that you're feeling, exiting, locking, cutting, and then reattaching, the loctician stated, well, no. So I guess this is my question. Lost my dread. What do you think? Do you think you're able to cleanse the energy off of your locks yourself? Would you go to someone to cleanse them for you, to bless them for you, to anoint them with protective energy? Like, is that a factor at all to you? Do you think of that? Does it matter? Does it not matter? Is this just me? I don't know. Anywho, I'm happy with what I've removed so far. Now I have this dread. Normally, depending on how much hair I have on the edge of my dread, I will, I guess, thin out this dread so that I don't have such a chunky connection point. But this dread is kind of thin. I wouldn't mind it getting a little thicker. And since I didn't brush out more hair, I noticed that this dread itself is a little dense, so I'm just poking some holes through it to force some room into it, right? So that's what we got. Now, my favorite tool to use for installing dreads is a 0.75 single hook crochet. What I'll do is, there you go, once you grab your lock, you will go ahead and find where you think that it'll be the connection point, and match it up. You're gonna line it up to where this is a dread and this is a semi-dread. If you started with a dread type extension. If you didn't and you just started with loose hair, just wrap around, crochet. But since I didn't, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split this in two, and I'm gonna sort of split these in two. I'm gonna grab this bottom one right here, and I'm just gonna, I guess, straddle this hair and that hair. So now I'll crisscross them and wrap them around. And I'll do this loosely because I still need to pull these hair through to create a connection. And then I'll do the same to the top. You want to try to do this without letting go of any of what you've already wrapped so that it doesn't slip. And once you have that, you're going to go ahead and pinch your dread. If you ever want to compress your dread, you need to pinch, roll, and crochet. And then you just start having at it. The goal here is to incorporate the extension hair into your dread and your hair into the extension. I pull out a little bit of hair at a time, and then I'll spin and I'll do it again so that I have hair coming out every which way. What I also like to do is, also so that it helps lock, I like going in from the top at an angle and pulling hair. So I'm essentially trying to pull hair from here, which is under the connection point, up to the top to get it tangled. And then I'll do the opposite as well. Okay, and then here is where I get comfortable, and I'm comfortable enough to basically wrap my hand around the connection point and try not to let it slip, and then hold onto the dread from the top. It's a weird motion, or hard to explain if you don't know what's going on, but basically I wrap it up to the thickness of how I want my dread, and I just go in. So you can see there's hair being pulled in and up. Since I'm wrapping it and going around, the dread has no other option but to, I guess, adapt the shape that I'm forming it into. And then I'll move up so that I get more of the top dread, or my natural dread, and I'll just keep going. Now here, you're going base by feel. You can kind of feel where you're going in, coming out, grabbing hair, and pulling it back in and through. Like, this is what it looks like now. Right? You want to be careful. You don't want to pull too much or too hard too early and cause it to slip. And just keep going. You go around. And you're just going to continue that process and go all around. Now, for extensions, I highly recommend not over crocheting, but definitely locking your hair. I mean, duh, right? But make sure that it feels secure before you let it go. As far as extensions, like, yes, it's great when they're put in and they don't move, but you just give yourself the best advantage, basically. I mean, lock it up as hard as you can, because extension points do need some form of maintenance, especially if you're putting your hair up in a bun, or if you're putting your hair up in a ponytail, because you're pulling the hair. And well, I mean, ponytails and buns already do tend to cause a lot of loops and bumps in your dreads. So if depending on how long your hair is, I mean, it could fall right at the connection point and cause a weakness. It can start thinning out the dread, and well, then you have it slipping. And if you're not really handy with the crochet hook, well, you have to wait till someone can do it for you. But it's not a problem if you ever have a lock that falls or a lock that breaks off. Like 10 out of 10, a good loctician can reattach it. There you go. Now that's my connection. So when working with synthetic hair, it's really easy, in my opinion, because it has more of a texture than natural hair. So, and also, like, it's stronger, in my opinion, as far as taking back home action. So you can easily dread it. I find synthetic and kinky hair the easiest to lock up using crochet method. Not so much silky straight hair. Silky straight hair has got to be maybe the one that needs the most work to lock up. you're just gonna back comb a little bit. Some people prefer the rip and twist method. If that's the method that you're gonna go for, just be prepared for some lumps if you don't take your time doing it correctly. By correctly, I mean, sorry, I have a little mirror here and I just slammed that on there. By correctly, simulation, I mean you twist, you rip, and it'll ball up like that, right? And then you'll keep going and it'll cause a ball here. So then this will lock into a chunk, this will lock into a chunk. Don't do that. Once you push it all the way up like that or twist it like that, go back and let it lean down, twist and rip again. So you have a more compacted dread in that method. If you're not going to be wanting to crochet, you can save yourself a lot of frizzy days. But I highly recommend crochet method. That's not the natural way, but it's definitely a way. All right, so sometimes I get to a part of synthetics where you have little specks. Don't worry about it. You can either collect those or make another dread if you'd like. So now I have this floppy little thing, and I used the same method as attaching the dread, for me at least, when using synthetics. I've noticed when I'm locking a hair, human hair, especially if it's smooth or straight hair, you do need to tease it a little bit more, palm roll it maybe, and then go back and crochet. I gotta say, kinky hair has got to be my favorite type hair because it's so much easier. You don't have to back comb. You kind of just crochet. Like, your hair is already, it already has enough textures. Like, you don't need anything else. Anywho, I've also seen people ask what these are for. This is for this. This is a 0.5. I like 0.75s. So I use the same method, going at an angle. I just make sure to do it not as frequent because, I mean, you're doing it twice as fast. Basically, you're grabbing twice as much hair. So it can thicken up more than you want it to quite easily. So there is also the 3 hooks, same way. You just go in and crochet. And if you're a dread maker or a loctician, you know how long dreads can take. So at least when you're making full sets or sets like custom sets, not just like accents and they're all relatively the same. This is how you do it. And then it's synthetic hair, so you don't necessarily have to worry about the less hair you have, the less hooks you need to use, okay? So don't try to use the 3 hooks on like this thin of a section. It's not necessary. Like, if anything, you need to use a thinner, use the 0.5. Definitely don't use the 0.75. Like, it's just, that's how, the thicker the better, you know? Just match it up with the correct size needle, depending on, I guess, the outcome. So always make sure that you know what it is that you're wanting your dread to end up looking like, so that you know what route to take. Because every dread journey starts with your hair and ends with your dread goal, and in between is your journey. Now you can line up a few dreadheads and they all have the same goal as far as their natural hair, and they all want it to look the same or the same style, and they can all have different types of hair types, which means they're going to have to go about it differently. There's some people who just produce a lot more oils. So if you're the type to produce a lot more oils and you want your hair to lock up, you're going to need to wash your hair a lot more frequently than someone who doesn't produce any oil. Someone who doesn't produce any oil can go ahead and, I mean, not any oil, like they do produce some oil, just not as much. They are going to need to add moisture into their hair care routine so that they prevent dry scalp, they prevent dandruff, so that they prevent brittle hair breaking off and or anything like that. So you can all have the same dread goal, but it's all different. So I don't put down different methods just because it's not the one that works for you. There's different methods that work for different types of hair and also at different phases. All right. So also with synthetic locks, I did a lot of work just to show you guys how I do a dreadlock. What's really cool about synthetics is that when you palm roll it after backcombing, that itself already looks dreaded. So if you want to save yourself some time, also if you're working with synthetic hair, make sure to backcomb carefully, take your time, then palm roll, and then crochet. And then if you want to seal them, just be careful, as that may alter some of the areas where it wasn't completely locked. It may cause a loop, and well, sometimes that's okay. Some people like loops. All right. Now, if you're a person who has little wispy ends and you don't like them, you need to make your way over to what is this? dreadheadshop.com? No. Dreadhead headquarters. Cute. For this baby. She's so amazing. It's like your latch hook, just with a lot more room to work with. So when these are usually used for synthetics, or you can use them for synthetics, and I'll show you in another video if you need to or want to know how to use that for synthetics. Leave it in the comments and I'll go ahead and do that. All right, so you grab the latch hook. Doesn't matter if it's closed or if it's open, because this thing was so beautifully designed that it opens when it's going in. And let me show you. So we're gonna measure, because we're using tools, and that's what we do when we have tools. I see about right here. I'm gonna stick it in, and then I'm just gonna thread. Oops. When you mess up, just pull all the way through, close the latch, and get back out, and then try again. So with thin dreads and this big latch, it's a little hard. You do have to make sure that you're babysitting it all the way through. So right here, I can feel the latch opening. Oop, open. So now it's in. I'm gonna take it out right there and retry. Wow, this is a great video on how to fail. So, you get the point, right? Basically, hold it, kind of like baiting a hook. And once you get to the end, you're gonna grab the hair that's in, or the hair that you want locked, right? Or no longer. Make sure that it's hooked. Make sure that it closes and pull through. Ain't that cute? So some hair came out through here. You can either cut it off, palm roll it, or cut it off. Just kidding. Go back, palm roll a little bit if you still need to, and crochet in your little nub. That's to keep the hair that you just pulled through in its place. Right? And for little hairs, you can go in with your little basic crochet, wrap it around a few times and pull it through. See? All right. There you have it. We're done with one. That's it. I'm done. I'm tired. I have a few more that I need to get done. Actually, this one, and I feel it because it's soft. This is actually a lock that I had, and my hair was up to, actually this whole dread is my natural hair. However, I did cheat because my hair had dreaded about up to here. It had shrunk, it was in the back, and like most of backhead dreads, they're neglected. So mine shrunk so much and it was a big old ball. It's nasty, I didn't like it. I wrapped it, neglected it. Don't do that. So I brushed it out and I had a big old ball of hair that I just palm rolled, crocheted, and hooked on to the edge of this. And that was pretty frizzy, and you can see where there's a lot of ends of the hair. That's because there's a lot of section versus you having a whole long strand and not having many of these. Now for this one, if you do this method, or if you want to have a go at trying to brush your hair out then using your hair to just extend your locks, because I mean I basically extended it as well. That's how much extra. Crazy, right? I thought it was crazy. So I'm slowly doing that to the rest of my dreads and just picking which ones I want to add some color to the ends. I'm not sure how much I'll have these in, how long I'll have these in, since they are synthetics, but I have heard of people keep synthetic hair in permanently for years at a time. So, I mean, shouldn't be a problem. Plastic lasts forever, right? So, I feel it a little loose, just touching it up here and there. And that's it. I'm gonna find a few others and do those too. Thanks, guys. Bye.